Now we have with us a very distinguished scholar and intellectual, Professor Sami Al-Arian, and he is the director of the Center for Islam and Global Affairs in Istanbul University, Turkey. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam. Good to hear from you, brother.
So nice of you that you gave us time. So first of all, I must tell you, Professor Sami, that you recently visited Pakistan, and I heard your lecture in Islamabad, and you spoke about a link between Greater Israel and Hindutva, Zionism and Hindutva. So tell me, is this plan of Greater Israel a reality or just an imaginary map?
Thank you very much for inviting me. It's really my pleasure to be with you. The Israeli project, the Greater Israel project, is a real project that has been in existence for over a century and quarter in the form of the Zionist movement. They have taken over Palestine partially in 1948, 78%. They continued their imperialist and colonial project by invading 3 Arab countries in 1967. They occupied all of Palestine, including the West Bank, Gaza, and East Jerusalem. They went into Sinai, Golan Heights. That project never stopped. They tried to confront the Palestinian uprising of the 1987 through 1991 by going later on through what is called the Oslo Accord in order to slow down the Palestinian resistance to their project. But once that started in a political process, the number of settlers in the West Bank increased from 125,000 in 1993. Today they have 850,000, over 300 settlements, and they're trying to reach 1 million and beyond. They're trying to confiscate the West Bank indeed, and that's what some members of the right-wing Israeli government are saying day in and day out, like Smotrich. He is saying that we would like to get 60% of West Bank in order to settle 1 million Israelis. So that project never stopped. When the Syrian regime fell in December 2024, they invaded Syria. They took an extra 600 kilometers square, in addition to the 1,150 kilometers square in the Golan Heights. They invaded Lebanon after there was a ceasefire in November 2024 with Hezbollah. In that case, what they did is they went and occupied strategic points, and according to the observers, they have violated that ceasefire of November 2024 more than 20,000 times. Even in Gaza, after the ceasefire, they continue to occupy 60% of Gaza and encroaching on Gaza every day. So the Greater Israel project is not a myth. It's not an illusion. It's true. And that's what they would like to do. They would like to break up the Middle East, break up West Asia, occupy as much land as possible, displace, replace, and dispossess, as well as expel as many people as possible. They're doing that in Palestine, in Gaza, in the West Bank, in southern Lebanon, throughout. And that's the Greater Israel project, which is trying to dominate the whole region.
You said that Israel have plans to occupy many countries in the Middle East, but which country in the Middle East, which state is challenging this Greater Israel plan? And Israel thinks that this country in the Middle East is a threat for this Greater Israel plan.
Israel considers any country in the Middle East as a potential threat, as a potential foe. This plan was actually written in 1982, and it can be Googled easily by writing the ODED, O-D-E-D, Yinon, Y-I-N-O-N plan. In that plan, the idea is that for Israel to be the preeminent power in the Middle East, to be the hegemon, to be in control of the Middle East, every other neighboring country and beyond must be weakened, must be broken up, and it has to be targeted. It would not be allowed to have a powerful army or a powerful state. It would not be allowed to have scientific advancement or even any kind of economic prosperity, because eventually that could turn into a military power which will threaten, according to their theory, the Zionist regime, the Zionist state. So when you read this particular document, it shows that they need to break up most countries. So you will find, for example, in Sudan, they were the instigators behind the breakup of Sudan into North and South. This plan was culminated in 2010, but the idea to break up Sudan was in the Mossad and the foreign ministry of the Zionist regime since 1957, 1 year after Sudan's independence. Similarly, they're trying to establish all kinds of ethno-religious sectarian states in the region. They propagate and they try to promote a Druze state. They want to break up Syria into Druze state, Sunni state, Alawite state, Kurdish state. They are the first proponent and the foremost proponent of a Kurdish state. The idea here is that all the countries in the Middle East could be potential foes, potential threats to them, including, I might add, Pakistan. If you dig deep, you will find that there is a nexus, there is a relationship between what Israel is doing in different parts of the world and what's happening in Baluchistan, for example, in order to break up Pakistan. There is an axis now between Zionism and Hindutva, in which much of what's happening in Palestine is being replicated in Kashmir. They're trying also to destabilize not only Iran, as we see in the current war, but also in Turkey, in the southern part of Turkey. They are trying to do the same with Pakistan and many other countries. In short, Israel does not feel safe because it feels that every country in the region, if it is potentially powerful, they could be a threat to them, and therefore it is incumbent upon them to destabilize these countries, to break them up, to weaken them. And therefore, I wouldn't be surprised, because it's already been said by Naftali Bennett, the prospective, possibly the future prime minister and former prime minister, is that Turkey is a threat to Israel, even though Turkey has not fought Israel. And they say the same thing about Pakistan.
So you mentioned Turkey and Pakistan, but which country, in your opinion, is the next target of Israel after Iran?
Had they been successful in Iran, had Iran been defeated or broken up, had they been able to do a regime change in Iran, or if they have been able to defeat Iran in the battle, in the war, then I would say Turkey and Pakistan would have been the next targets. But I believe they have failed to achieve any of their objectives in Iran. They were not able to have a regime change. They haven't been able to achieve any of their objectives, including stumbling or taking over the nuclear facilities or the missile program, or stopping their support of their allies in the region. And that therefore, I believe they will try to destabilize Pakistan and Turkey. They'll try to attack them, but I think with their defeat, they would not be able to do that. They would lose their leverage, but doesn't mean that they will not try to destabilize these countries which are anti-Israel, not only in rhetoric, but in historical stance, in order to get their way. They will try to weaken Pakistan, because Pakistan is the sole country in the Muslim world that has and possesses nuclear power, nuclear bombs. This fact by itself is potentially dangerous from their perspective, because Israel wants to have a monopoly over nuclear power. It wants to have a free hand in using them, in using nuclear bomb if they need to. But if Pakistan has also nuclear power and is able to give nuclear cover for all other Muslim countries, then that edge, that leverage of Israel would be neutralized. And that's why they would like to destabilize Pakistan. That's why they would like to strip it from its nuclear power. And Pakistan needs to be very careful how it is going to be perceived in the near future, where Israel is going to turn its sight on Pakistan's nuclear program.
You know that Pakistan's nuclear program is India specific. But recently Pakistan signed a defense cooperation agreement with Saudi Arabia. Don't you think that Pakistan and Saudi Arabia should expand this defense cooperation and include countries like Turkey and Iran and Qatar?
Absolutely. I believe this is potentially the most important alliance in the region. We need to build and construct a security architecture made up of the region's countries, made up of Pakistan, Turkey, perhaps even Iran, Saudi Arabia, and other willing partners. This is the only way we can protect our countries, our peoples. Relying on foreign, and we've seen this vividly in the current war, relying on foreign entities, on foreign governments, on foreign countries to protect the region's possessions, countries, security, oil facilities have proven an illusion. What the United States did in the current war was it prioritized Israel over its current Arab allies. It wasn't able to protect the Arab allies. All 16 military bases that it has all over the Arab countries, including Jordan, they have been devastated, been destroyed by Iran. The United States could not protect them. It could not defend against them. And when it had the opportunity to use its interceptors, it used them to protect Israel rather than its Arab allies. So its Arab allies have awakened to this situation where America hasn't been able to protect them. The United States failed actually to give them a security cover, and that is going to have a real repercussion. Manifestation of this is that the Arab and the Muslim countries in the region will have to rely on themselves. America is not going to defend them. America is not going to protect them. America is looking after the security of Israel and its own interests. And America has shown itself to be powerful enough to destroy, but not powerful enough to achieve and fulfill its objectives.
Thank you very much, Professor Sami Al-Arian.